Eggstravaganza here at the Menai Indoor Sports Centre. A venue that has a pretty serious place in Australian roller derby history for a number of reasons. Skittles, not only is this the home of Southside Derby Dolls, former Erd and 5x5 champs, if my memory serves, but also City Smash and the Bass Strait Brawlers, and those games were how Smash was able to become an MRDA member later that year. So
that's some serious history, mate.
It's like, honestly, it's one of the it's a really serious Southside Derby Dolls for all kinds of roller derby events in this venue to thank for it. Shall we?
Let's cut over. We're going to cut over to our team lists here. For this next game, we're going to have Brisbane City Rollers plays Sydney Roller Derby League. Have you got a team list there? I can see one down the bottom. You got one?
I sure do.
Excellent. I'm just going to put those team lists up on the screen in a sec. Alrighty, who have you got first?
Well, I've got Sydney in my hand, so let's go through it, shall we? Alrighty, skating for Sydney today, we have 0-0 Supernova, 1-0-1 Altitude, I believe Nova is one of the captains as well, 1-1 Rampage, 1-1-1 Glam Cracker, 1-2-1 Flux Decapitator, 1-3 Doctor Hoo-Hoo, 1-4 Hodo, 1-6-1 Zen Brutal, they skated last weekend, it's not their debut for Sydney, sorry, 2-8-8 Chakram, 3 Spunky, 5 Mother Fuzzer, 7-3 Teratoma, 7-4 Roman Data List for Sydney. Not all of those skaters are necessarily playing in those games today.
Alrighty, and I've got the Brisbane list here. We've got list from the first game this morning. Puss, 147 Resting Bitch Pace, 210 Carla, 24 Riley, 314 Scrapple Pie, 40 Unforgiving Bunny, 444 Felony, 482 Riff Raff, 55 Dolminator, 613 Axel Rolls, 626 Hex Experiment, 63 Melcatraz, 65 RV Rocket, 7 Gnarly Quinn, 703 Peppermint Crunch, 8 Feminem, and 95 Shellfish. And that is your team lists for this next game of Eggstravaganza. Now, of course, we are fans of all roller derby, and it's great to be here. The purpose of this competition, these games this weekend.
Games are played under the auspices of our international governing body, the Women's Flat Track Roller Derby Association, affectionately referred to as WFDA, because the rest of it's an enormous mouthful.
I like to say WFDA.
Ah, WFDA.
Because it's a T next to a D.
Yes, good point.
I used to do WFDA, and then I noticed the D, and I'm like, hey, WFDA.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I'm going to start incorporating
I've ruined it for you.
No, you haven't at all. You've made it better. Well, WFDA has to try and work out how you compare teams from Malmo in Sweden to teams from Sydney in Australia. So teams get together and play sanctioned games to obtain rankings, and then where a team places in those rankings first within our region, which I'm pretty sure we're in Oceania.
Yes, we are.
That then determines whether you go through to, and then if you're able to win your way through those, you get to go to the World Champs, which is, for those of you who might be watching
this... So it's like the World Cup, but for roller derby, right?
Yeah.
You go through some qualifying games, and then if you win enough qualifying games or that sort of thing, you get to go through and do the Worlds?
Yes, you absolutely do. I guess what I was going to sort of say is that it is an international competition, but it's more of an international club competition, say like, the Euro Cup or stuff like that. It's being played by clubs, not necessarily.
Now you're asking about soccer, and I'm drawing a blank, but that's right.
So they're essentially playing games to be able to ultimately play at the international World Club Championship is probably the best way to think about it if you don't know roller derby particularly well. But it is, a world title, effectively. All right, looks like we're nearly ready to go here, Titty Skills. Who?
Just a second, I've got to fix this.
All right, so we've got Hex lining up to jam for Brisbane City. Rampage wearing the star. Experiment. Ramps, however, quick overtake on the exit of turns 3 and 4. Hex called, so they need to maximise the clock time available and call off the jam early.
Smooth move. So on that WFDA ranking system we were just talking about, sometimes you have a, say, Division 1 team playing a Division 2 team. So we might think could be quite lopsided as one of the teams there calls a timeout. Who have we got on a timeout?
I think that's an official timeout related to a scoreboard issue.
We've got a scoreboard probably, yeah. Brisbane City should have got no points on that. Yeah, okay, they fixed that there. Alrighty. So, fix that one. So some of these games this weekend might be a bit lopsided. And Riley driving their way through, and Yoshi sneaks through to get the lead jam. Finds the gap, coming around for their scoring pass as the pack is still stuck down at the bottom, and Riley's also through. Riley there looking for one skater to beat in on the inside, gets those 4 points and calls the jam. Nicely played. So of all the games we're going to see this weekend, this is probably the matchup that we're expecting to be the absolute closest. Both of these teams are very evenly matched, I would say. Scaling of this team versus this team. This Brisbane and Sydney are quite equal, so I'm looking forward to a nice close game.
I see here we have Hodo lining up to jam for Sydney, and that's Felony jamming for Brisbane City. Felony up on that front wall of Sydney already, and quick lead on the entrance to turns 1 and 2, giving Brisbane control of this jam.
Yeah.
Skittles, how do you think Brisbane played against Inner West in the first game? What were they doing to control their jams when they had lead?
Yeah, so because of the nature of the situation, oftentimes Brisbane was looking to get out, score some points and call the jam, which they can do if they've got lead jammer. They can call the play off effectively and keep their opponents scoreless. So that was definitely Brisbane's strategy, whereas Inner West, we'd say maybe a lower ranked team. So they were only Brisbane needed to outscore them 3-1. So that was quite a different ask.
Yeah, that's a big
ask. And so the strategy is very, very different there. Inner West just wanted to get out and score points. Brisbane wanted to get out, score points, and keep their opponents to 0. Yeah.
So, folks, there's going to be a swap in the jammer box here, actually. Not even a swap. Ho was, Sydney jammer 1-4 was in the penalty box, served their full 30 seconds, and now Felony has also taken a seat in the penalty box. And seeing as they entered the box and sat down after Ho had been released, they also will be serving their full 30 seconds. So, no jammer spot for that one.
So power jam both sides, no lead jam, which means this is going to be a full 2-minute jam.
And jammers can't complain about this 2 minutes because they both got a seat. They had 30 seconds to rest.
They both had a chance, right?
30 seconds to think about their life choices.
Think about your choices. As Hodo there is just shouldering their way through, beats one, found the gap, got through there, another 4 points. Hodo's also getting in there as well, points on the board. And the jam runs out of time. That's the end of that jam. Brisbane City 12, Sydney Roller Derby 8.
Yeah, just work, some nice footwork. Has in their history of doing things, Ho has been a ballet dancer in the past when they were younger, which I think
those skills come in handy.
Oh yeah, especially some of that fancy footwork. All right, Brisbane lead jammer here in this jam.
Gnarly Quinn, see them out again. Player to beat, calls the
protect their points from Gnarly, knowing that Rampage as their jammer is a very, very fast skater. They can run the pack away a little bit and be reasonably confident, in fact supremely confident, that Rampage will catch up. Ramps here backing up, one jam.
So our track here, those big white tape that we put down on the track, underneath that tape there's actually a rope. And the reason we put that down there is so the refs call for 5 seconds, last couple of seconds of lineups before we kick back in, and away we go. We've got Hex going through, lead jam for Brisbane, whilst Rampage is also now looking for an opportunity. Round the outside, they've got 2 skaters to beat, a quick bounce and a spin, and they are through. But Hexperiment has already come around for their first pass, beats one, beats 2, they go down, and then call the jam just in time. That will be 3 points for Brisbane, 0 points to Sydney.
Both times, Sydney, it looked like swung down and capped Brisbane off the start, which kind of contains their movement. All right, we're ready here to go for the next jam. We have Yoshi jamming for Sydney.
Yep. Where's Riley? Riley's still got 1 to beat, 2 to beat now. Okay, but Yoshi is now coming in for their first pass, and Riley is set free to start their first lap. Yoshi gets through, hands in the air. That is a power jam to Sydney as they give up the penalty. So now this is Brisbane's chance and Riley's chance to just pile on the points as much as they can, because their team doesn't just have to play offense and defense. They can just help their jammer through. That's the power of a power jam.
The only problem is they're going to have to somehow or other help them out. So we have Sydney Jammer back on the track. That's the end of the power jam. Sydney have also done an excellent job of containing the Brisbane during that power jam. Yoshi's out of the box and back on the track.
Absolutely. Tell you what, Altitude is one of those skaters who's always thinking she's big, she's strong, and she is fast. If there's a gap, think twice, because Altitude will be there covering it off. So great work by all of this, by them on that one, paying attention to what's going on.
Absolutely. If you see Ali and you see a gap, that's because Ali wants you to take the gap.
Yeah, she's lined. You got Riley coming back around. Another pass here. We don't have any lead jammer, so this is going to go the full two minutes here. 15 seconds left on the clock. Both getting through quite easily in the scramble there left as the Sydney pack and the Brisbane pack look to reform to set up their defensive posture, but that is the end of the jam.
It'll be interesting to see what choices both teams make off this jam. The last two jams in a row, they've both executed the same start that they wanted to do. Unfortunately, though, it seems to be resulting in one of the jammers being able to make an escape up a line. Yoshi on that last jam in particular got quick lead on the outside. Let's see, so a little bit more space off the start here this time. Both packs have realised they need to give their jammers a little bit of room to move at the start.
And we are absolutely got a absolute crush. All the skaters on track, all of them bunched up in there. It is chaos.
A little bit of a mess on turns 1 and 2. Sydney blocker had to step in so that they didn't do a track cut, and Felony was able to take advantage and gain lead. Now on their first scoring pass. Ramps is still on initial, I believe, Skittles.
Yeah. Still on the initial, still looking for that chance. They've had to reform, and that is the end of the jam.
So Rampage also made their way.
Or
yes, they would have been on their first scoring. So Felony.
Oh yeah, first scoring pass. Yep. I'm with you now.
Felony called it off with
Brisbane
with
30,
the most points
Sydney
wins.
24. Okay, both jamming for Hodo to get out and claim that lead jam. But tell you what, Gnarly's through, and they are hot on their heels. Into the pack is reformed. And that's going to be some really tight, fast jams. Get in, get points, hold the opposition.
Flipping their hips around so that they're getting past as many people as they can, and then calling off the jam to maximise points for Sydney and minimise points for Brisbane. Here we are looking at the next jam. We have Glam Cracker taking the line today for her first jam of the game, and Experiment Stitch lining up again.
All right,
for Brisbane.
Experiment with some great help from her pivot there to open up the line on the.
A little bit of a rotating door.
We've got a
here.
rotating door as both jammers have received penalties. So Glam Cracker's going to sit down. As soon as they do, Experiment's going to stand up, and they're going to get to go out and skate again. So we've had a change of power jam. So instead of sitting the full 30 seconds, these jammers will have a shortened penalty time there. So as we say that, Experiment's back on track. They've got 4 Sydney blockers to beat, and they've got 4 blockers to help them through, and they find their way through. And that looks like their initial. And Glam Cracker, can they find a way through? Almost there. And the pack is quite split. They're getting brought together here. Really cramped in there, can get really difficult to really stuck through there. One skater to beat, down on the knee. Are they going to get recycled? No, they're not, because the other blockers are further behind, so they can't come back and hold them up.
Just returned from a trip to the US, where she was skating with her World Cup team, Team Philippines, played her first games as a member of Team Philippines just in the last 10 days. So congratulations, Glam Cracker. Really excited to see you skate with Team Philippines and, see how you go at the World Cup.
Amazing.
In August? I don't know why I'm saying August. I don't even know when it is.
No, yeah, don't ask me. I've got no idea. Alrighty, so close game. Brisbane 38 to Sydney.
This game for Sydney, along with Riley taking the line for Brisbane. Both teams right at the back of the start line here.
Not giving the Jammers much room to move. And all the blockers running into each other as well. This game is fast and furious here. Riley down the outside, finds a lane. They're through, get to lead Jam.
No easy feed getting past the round pound on the outside line either.
No. And we've got a star pass to
A member of Team No Hats. If you don't want to jam, you don't want to pivot either.
Look, I don't know if I've seen Altitude jam ever.
I've never seen her jam. I've seen her pivot jam like she did just then.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's,
I've never seen her start with the star.
Ouch.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't like it. Not a fan of wearing hats. Mostly because you might have to jam. I don't know, like a lot of teams have started to do this over time, although it seems to be slightly less of a thing I'm noting here this weekend as Rampage takes the line to jam for Sydney, and that looks like Stitch experiment for Brisbane.
Yeah.
A lot of teams... Skittles, yes.
Experiments moving. Rampage is trying to track him down.
Brisbane
More
were
blockers
at the
down.
front.
Fast and furious this game.
Smart move by Hex to sign to call it off. 1 point apiece, which is fine. Brisbane were at the front of that pack for a little while, controlling the speed, providing plenty of opportunities for Hex to get to the front and score. Unfortunately, pack control got switched around once Sydney got in the front and sped things up. All right, we have Hodo taking the line here for Sydney and Felony lining up to jam for Brisbane.
Very nice. Again, that pack really crowding the jam line, not leaving them much space. Alrighty, Felony looking on the outside. Ali's there. Meanwhile, Hodo's stuck on the inside before they have a swap. Riley's got one to beat. They're out. Felony's out, and that is lead jam for Felony. You can pass. The helmet covers off a strategy of, maybe I am, maybe I'm not.
Exactly, and this is where I was...
And looks like they've held on to it. Sorry there, Commander, not giving you a chance to get the jam, and they do, and that is the end of that jam. Some points to Brisbane, 3 on that one, 3 on that pass, 7 all up, and none to Sydney.
Tal taking the jam line for the first time in this game for Sydney. Different.
Outside drove through the middle. There are players all on the ground.
Clean up in aisle 3, I believe
Clean
that
up
was.
in aisle 3. But it gets them Thembreltal the lead, and that's what they're looking for. All right, looking around the outside. Can they dart around? No, just a quick shoulder from Pye there. Gnarly Quinn is out on their initial pass as they come back through, but Thembreltal gets in, gets those points, calls the jam. 4 points to Sydney, 0 to Brisbane. Quick, get in, get out. Nice.
Brisbane jam are hot on the tail there, so definitely take what you can get.
That was I would rate that. The blockers giving the jammers some space here.
Brisbane going in with a pack
the door.
advantage. 9-2-5. Yoshi jamming for Sydney.
Yoshi's in there, and Felony's in there for Brisbane. Yoshi's got through, and they're out. Lead jam for Sydney again.
Excellent work from Sydney there with that one.
They've got a penalty that's not gonna help him. So that puts Felony out, and because lead wasn't called there for Yoshi, Felony's going to get lead jam for Brisbane City. So they're going to get some 4 points, and they're going to get a power jam here. Opposition jammer in the bin, so blockers they can just focus on the offense.
Sydney getting their pack advantage. Blockers, which can hopefully help them slow down Brisbane's score.
They're going to be looking for points as Felony's just piling it on here. Another lap here. That's going to be...
Well, it's 11 to nothing, which is the really feeling someone's going to call a timeout here. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah? Just getting that feeling. Maybe official review?
No, both packs are out. I retract my statement.
All is forgiven.
So Brisbane were doing an interesting start here a couple of jams ago.
Yeah.
Which I think Sydney has now trying to, I think they were placed there to combat what I'd seen where Brisbane's two back blockers in the wall, what we'd normally call the butts, Well, suddenly, as soon as being there meant that they couldn't do that, and Sydney's jammer was able to get around them a little bit better.
So
the other person you're trying seam is two skaters together, where they're trying to create a seam for a jammer or another blocker to push on. But you use that seam in your two bodies together like this.
Yep.
So that the person you're trying to stop can't get through. You can't use any, like you can't elbow them, you can't grab them.
Oh, yeah. And if you hold that seam tight, they can't get through.
Exactly
if you get
right.
separated, then you're in danger of a multiplayer, right?
Exactly, and we can see right jam as Brisbane.
Forced to break up. Felony's been recycled time. Looks like they found a gap, not able to capitalise, and they're going to get recycled. There's a couple of penalties thrown around as well for good measure. Are they able to get out of here? No, we're still stuck.
Just really strong to run offense for Shaq, and finally lead is awarded deep into this jam.
Yeah, we're a minute into this jam, 2-minute jams, of course, and only now have we finally got a lead. Puts 4 points in the account. Sydney really need to get
in here. This will keep them in touch with Brisbane, who are sitting at 65 at the moment. Shaq calls it off. I couldn't see how many points.
They got 2 somewhere.
We probably do, but I tell you what, I'm going to try and do it by sight.
Oh, that's pro.
All right, here we go. So it looks like officiating this game. We have Sparkles, Seaflord, Payne, Boom Tish. I'm pretty sure I saw Jim Peckable in there before.
He was just helping out on the track. He's not on skates right now.
He's the track monkey. Okay, we have Nasty Surprise over in the penalty box. I'm pretty sure that we Knitting Police, if my memory serves. Now, I'm pretty sure...
I've always read it Winnersaw, but...
No, Wino.
That makes much more sense when you hear it.
Yeah, it's Wino.
Some of these derby names, you read them, but you don't quite get it till you read it, till you hear someone else read it out loud, and you go, oh.
And there was another person in the middle, Mercy. I know that is about Wino's 27th derby name, when I first was going as Killer Jen Maro at the time.
The more derby names, the better?
Apparently. Then you're less human. I also have less organs, so we're fine.
This hurts me.
Just don't watch Invader Zim and integrate it into your entire experience. You'll be fine.
I was just telling my friends I was deleting the optional extras packages on my board.
Excellent.
Yeah, this one we can do without it.
All right, JREF also in the middle. I knew I'd missed a couple of people who I should know. We have Glam Cracker lining up to jam here for Sydney. That is Felony jamming for Brisbane. Felony, who earlier I thought was jamming with no toe stops. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, that'd be some smooth moves. No toe stops, goodness gracious. Oh, and they let go because they've got a visit to the penalty box.
It appears that they scored.
They're going to sit down for 20 seconds and reflect on their mistakes.
They scored. It looks like they were assessed a high block penalty, which, if any of you have ever met Glam Cracker, was quite the achievement if that's what she got.
Absolutely.
She's short, by the way, if you haven't met her.
She's quite short. You'll notice that Glam is wears a face covering, and the reason she wears a face mask during a contact sport where you're breathing heavily and all that stuff is because she likes the way it sort of just minimises the amount of wax she gets in her face, because she's often finding herself at big hit on the back of Rainbow there. Glam Cracker's coming in last minute, helmet cover off, thought they maybe could sneak through, but the Brisbane blockers... Between
Craig, Dr. Hoo and Rainbow Smash, you are looking at a combined nearly 50 years of roller derby experience. That is not a wall to toy with.
That's some professionals level blocking there. All right, Glam is through. Felony is still stuck. Calls the jam. Now, I am just going to briefly mention. So, I did some math in the background. Dangerous, I know. Did some math on the background on these two teams and where they're sitting in the WFDR rankings and all that sort of stuff. So obviously we're playing for fun. We're having a great time playing derby. We're playing so we can get sanctioned. You have to do a bunch of games over a couple of year period. I can't remember exactly what it is. You can clarify with me later and tell me I'm wrong.
Please,
you have to do those to get sanctioned. Yeah, you can put it in the comments and I will remember to look at it later. As Yoshi is bouncing in, looks like they changed the direction inside line and they are through. Lead jam to Sydney with Experiment hot on their heels. Coming back around, here they go. Looking for that gap. 1, 2. So anyways, we're sanctioned because we're playing sanctioned games, which means that we're sort of doing everything to the highest, most proper official rule set standards, which is great, quality derby. The other thing we've got going on is we have we might want to have a look at from time to time about which team is going to go up or down on their ranking score. So we have an ELO system, so it sort of evens out because not every team can system. So we're also having a look.
What's an ELO system?
So you do math, beat a team that's got a low score, your score will go up a little bit, but not by much.
Right.
If you're a low score team and you beat a higher score team, your points go up by more.
Right.
And then the other team, as both teams get through, but Sydney claims the lead jam with Chakram in lead jam.
We're on jammer action, just at the call off there, not quite enough for my liking though.
We'll get some more later.
Boxy lady, if you're out there, we miss you in your jammer on jammer action.
So ELO system, we've got that all going on, which is cool. So what some of the other things we have in that math is that the higher team needs to score more, needs to beat the other team by a margin, right? If you have a low team that loses 50 to 300, but through the magic of mathematics, we can also say, well, we actually didn't expect you to do very well at this highly ranked team, so we can, but you got more. So we're actually going to put your points up and say that you won the game in terms of a scaling. So I'm doing the scaling in the background here, and they've had a couple of games out for lead jam for Sydney, and Felony's still stuck there on the inside. 4 jammers to beat, but alrighty, Yoshi's still stuck. Felony's through. That's going to be some scores coming on. Yoshi's probably looking to get through and call the
2 seconds in the bin.
So that will be lead lost from Yoshi there. So we're going to go 2 full-minute jam here. Alrighty. Now, where is everybody?
On the other side of the officials. Felony finally making their way through. Sydney doing an excellent job of shutting down, which has cost Brisbane one of their blockers. Yoshi
looking for that to go. Felony there on the pack of 3 blockers, sandwiched in there. Pivot comes in for Felony to open up the space, and that has dispersed that pack. There are skaters down. Yoshi's getting up a little bit slowly.
I was going to say, sounded like a hard fall there for Yosh.
That was a hard fall. They're up there all right.
I think they were assessed a penalty in the course of that.
Yeah, I think there might be a penalty. Welcome to Math Time with Titty Skittles. So, Sydney 54, Brisbane's on 81. So, according to the maths, we do expect, because Brisbane has a high rank, we do expect Brisbane to outscore them. Although this should be close enough. So we're looking for, Brisbane needs to score an extra,
and with that rolling whistle, has blown the rolling whistle, indicating the end of the first period.
It's the end of the first period.
We have 10 or 15 minutes, I think, for intermission, but you should keep going with the math talk.
I'm going to finish this off, and then they need to score about 44% of the total points. Brisbane needs to score about 56% of the total points. Nice. If we want to think in percentages, we could say Sydney to Brisbane is a ratio of 4 to 5, whether you like percentages or ratios. I haven't quite worked out which one's the easiest to talk about. Sometimes work for tonight is. So, what that means is for Sydney. Now, Sydney scores 10 points, they'll be 64 to 81. That wouldn't put them ahead in the game. And, good work to Brisbane. 81 points up, they'll be ahead. But also, if they score that many more points, Sydney will also be up in terms of the ranked play.
Yeah, right.
We are here to get sanctioned, and so that's a big part of what we're doing. But also, it's fun to keep track of this thing.
Oh, well, because what you're talking about is the outcome that these teams are looking for.
Yes.
So we're getting that insight early before the games are even finished, before the weekend's even over. It's really, really helpful, I think, for us all to understand what the likely outcomes are going to be, because we know that the teams that come into this weekend have done these calculations.
And with that, folks, we're going to cut to a break.
Oh no, I forgot someone else on my officials call out
Press
before.
buttons in the order.
That will help. I feel good about that.
Yeah, nicely done. All right, we're kicking off. Felony in. Looking for that opportunity. Where are they?
A power jam start here. Negative power jam to Sydney.
First scoring pass. Big leap.
Unfortunately, could not land it. So now back behind Sydney's wall as Yoshi is released from the penalty box and approaching to complete their initial pass. You might hear Skittles and I will refer to initial and scoring passes during the course of the game today. Jammers have to complete an initial pass, that is, to get through all of the opposing skaters once, and then skate around and catch up to the pack. And then when they catch up to the pack, Skittles, they are on a scoring pass.
Scoring passes, yeah. All right, Felony gets in, calls a jam. See if they can get in a couple of points. Brisbane 2, 6 points. Woo! I missed the scoring pass. Yeah, cool.
So, 6 points still off that jam, and that is exactly what we were talking about, right? The Brisbane's jammer knew that Yoshi was approaching on scoring, was going to make points if they skated past any Brisbane blockers, so the Brisbane jammer made a smart decision and stopped that jam. Here we have Rampage lining up to jam for Sydney and Riley for Brisbane.
Very nice. Oh, big hit. Riley's down. There's some other blockers down as well. Who can take advantage? Rampage has found a gap and they are through. They will not get... They do get lead jam. Calling the jam before Riley gets back to take some points, and it's 0 apiece on the jam.
Riley took some good advantage there to complete. They're a bit scattered. They have to the next jam. Who's lining up, Skittles?
Alrighty, we've got Chakram and who else? I can't see the names.
Experiment.
Is it Hexperiment? It is Hexperiment. Alrighty, 626. You might remember that movie. You might not.
It's unfortunately I can spot Hex by their height. I know it's them because of how tall they are.
See. Rampage is looking for a gap through. The helmet covers off. This lead jam as Experiment takes a trip to the penalty box. Is a power jam for Sydney.
Interestingly, another, what I believe, high block call there for a jammer. I might go and have a chat at the end of this period to the officials, trying to work out what's going on there, because it now...
That's a couple of calls, eh?
Well, at least 2 high blocks assessed to people who I would...
Pass. The blocking pack is jammed together there, not what you normally see. Alrighty, both of them looking to get that edge, the full-length jam. So look for the signs of that tiredness as it creeps in. You might just go, they're just skating around in circles. But I tell you what, you skate around in circles and crash into people at the same time, after 2 minutes, you are done. So Chakram looking for a gap down the inside there, but they're bumped out and they're recycled. They'll have to have another go at that, getting through the pack. Experiment finds the space. Number 5 for Sydney there. Looked to close the gap, but was not able to. Not able to get there in time. All right. Pack's reformed. Chakram looking on the outside, but Experiment's just glided in on the inside there.
So 2 very different styles of jamming that we're looking at here. Shaq tends to push, and he's very patient. Shaq will wait for you to the fact that you have calmed down. Hex works primarily on motion. She likes to keep moving, works with fast feet and finding gaps. So 2 very different styles of jamming. Neither of them is right or wrong. It's just, a matter of what you do. We've probably got, again, 2 very different styles here, with Them Brutal lining up to
Power. Them Brutal is through. Brutal got the speed on there, almost sailed through, but just got a quick shoulder. Gnarly's coming in also looking for that opportunity. 1 point. Them Brutal calls the jam off just before Gnarly gets in there.
Them really excellent with that quick acceleration from almost no start. Helps them get through and score points all the time. Felony jamming for Brisbane.
Yes, and yes. Righty, Felony's got 2 to beat. Altitude is there. Can Altitude close the gap? Not quite, has to drop off to hold the bridge. Yoshi's looking for a space at the back there, and Felony is through. There's a points on. The pack is moving. There's a Sydney skater down. Felony's going to grab some points there. Call the jam. Very know what was going on there.
A smart move by Sydney there. Once again, speeding the pack up to protect, catch up, and score points against Brisbane. Points on the board.
Alrighty, now we're rocking, and we've got Rampage coming through there. lead jam for Sydney as Riley is still looking for a spot there. They thought they had it, but they got closed up.
Skittles, I think Rampage
Rampage
lost
has got
lead.
a track cut.
Forearms penalty assessed.
Oh, sorry, forearm.
Forearms penalty assessed before they had been awarded lead. So this now gives Brisbane control of the jam. Riley, I believe that is 2-4. Yep, is now lead jammer. So what we saw there was Rampage get out of the pack first, out of the engagement zone, and was awarded lead jammer by the jammer referee. However, at the same time, one of the outside pack referees, in this case redacted, was calling Rampage for a forearms penalty, and even though Rampage had been assessed lead, the penalty had occurred before that, and so as a result, once the information about the penalty was conveyed to Rampage, which is that's the end of their lead, and off they go to the penalty box, which means that Brisbane has a power start.
Oh, which they love to see. Power start is a good time.
And just
that's exactly what you want to see from a power start.
Exactly what Hex needs as well. The opposition blockers contained and just a space to move fast through whatever is there.
Experiment, a couple of hops on the toe stops, and they are through.
It's a beautiful work there by Surround Pound. Definitely displaying the state of playing experience already. And if you're wondering a lot of what drives Pound is the years that she's spent as a junior skater.
Very nice. All right, so we've got, by the power of mathematics, I did say this was going to be a close game. Brisbane on the scaled math at the background too. So this is a great to back. That's Rick Gators were looking pretty cooked after that. So it's great to see them bounce back.
So we have Gnarly out with lead jammer status for Brisbane, giving them control of this jam. Glam still stuck behind the Brisbane wall, has yet to complete their only Glam crack. Nice little bit of offense there. Didn't quite work, unfortunately. Now on the track.
She's having a chat to her team. She wants a strategy change. Hit off Glam Cracker there. Calls the jam.
So star pass there to Sydney, so that Brisbane was the only team that scored any points.
Very nicely done.
5 points off that jam to Brisbane, taking the score 113 to 63.
Yeah. Setting to score about 26 points. So it's quite a commanding lead for Brisbane.
Probably at the moment they need to get their defense. Ho out here with quick lead for Sydney, taking advantage of a little bit of chaos on the entrance to backwards, calls off the jam. 4 points on the board
That is some
for
smooth
Sydney.
moves. Sydney's definitely changed up who they're going to for jammers here. Going to Thembrutal, having to squint and guess names off the back of.
Both teams once again looking for a back start here. I think.
And there's a couple of penalties to the the Brisbane blockers here. Just one. That's going to open up the opportunity for Thembrutal to get through. That's 4 points in their pass. They have a quick spin. The check. Are we all good? Yeah, we're all good. Come around. 4 points. Let's go again. Sydney's got a block.
Skater. Oh, no, all it is that someone's on the track without a pivot strike.
Whoopsie days. Good hit by Supernova. Closed that gap to Riley. Didn't let them through. Love to see it. Thembrutal there, trying to bully their way through. Good little quick step on the toe stops for Riley on the inside there. They really, really needed that. And that is the end of.
Yeah, good pick up from Sydney there. They're going to need a little bit more of that across this period to stay in touch with Brisbane.
Yeah, closing the gap a little bit here.
It's not unusual over many years. It's a bit of a Sydney thing sometimes.
They come good at the end?
Yeah, sometimes the first part of it is about Sydney's adaptability and the way that they're trained and coached to be adaptable.
Change up the pace as Yoshi comes through and claims the lead jam?
Yeah, exactly, Skittles. I think it's almost like the first few minutes of each.
They're looking for the star pass and it's through. Nicely played off there. That's going to be, who is it? Waiting for that to come up on the scoreboard. Yeah, resting bitch pace. So going to try and slow this down. Yoshi's looking for the, do I call it?
Waiting for instructions from the bench.
Looks like Brisbane's happy to run it out.
Smart decision there by Sydney. So it's worth trying it. And
not when you get a penalty and you're now in a power jam.
Yeah, that's probably, well, I'll be honest, this is concept of trying to hold on to a pivot blocker, a pivot jammer still works.
Okay.
They can completely squash this power jam if they can hold on to the pivot jammer, being that they're not a practice
they
jammer.
can time it out.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, so it doesn't hurt as bad.
No, and that's the same reason. That's why I would, depending on who the pivot is, I would often, as a coach, suggest that you run a jam long when you've got a pivot jammer on the track.
Yeah, okay.
They're probably not. They're a bit easier to contain and a lot easier to tire out.
So you just burn through the power jam there and it doesn't hurt you nearly.
And then you have a situation like we have now. Yoshi is out of the penalty box.
To Sydney on the jam, 4 points to...
Up here for the next jam, we have 1-1 Rampage,
Which,
wearing the star for Sydney.
by the power of mathematics.
Yes.
We're back here.
Yeah, then.
Gnarly still looking for that opportunity to get through. One more blocker to beat. Rampage has re-entered the pack and they have bullied their way through. Nicely done. That's 4 points on the board for Sydney. And Gnarly is now looking to begin their scoring pass. Sydney look happy to run this again. They're really chasing those points down. So let's see what we got here.
Well, they've got lead. They are one pass up at the moment.
Remember I said they only needed 6 points? It's the time of the jam.
So someone was assessed a cut track penalty there. It was the Brisbane jammer assessed cut track by the jam ref Boomtish, giving Sydney a power jam. Rampage, as lead jammer, has made a calculated decision to call off the jam and give Sydney a power start off the next jam. I can say with reasonable confidence it will not be Shakram who takes the power start. Not her favourite thing. Shak isn't a fan of
Start on a power jam.
Not a fan.
Okay.
Which is fine. Like, you know, I think that part of it is that...
Oh, we got a timeout. Yep. Timeout to Brisbane.
Smart.
We've got 13 minutes on the period. So there's plenty of time for... 13 minutes on the period. There's plenty of time for Sydney to draw this back.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think they actually might do it here.
Yeah, I mean,
they
they are getting back on top a little bit. So plenty... Yes, but if they want to win the game.
Oh, yeah, that. Yeah, okay. That old thing. You want to win the game. All right.
Yes.
Horses for courses, I guess. Timeout now. Let's just flick this up. Let's have a look. How are we going here? Yeah, you can see here in the last couple of jams, Sydney has really made some great plays here. Some really good, strong jams. 6, 12, 11, 4. That's exactly the kind of play they want to be pulling out here. It's fantastic work.
All right, big opportunity here with a power start. Run it to the front. Bring them into the bad place at the entrance to the apex and create lots of room for them Brutal to work.
Then Brutal there. Swapping to the inside.
The Brisbane skaters at the back with them so that they have control of the pack.
Yeah, nice work.
Brisbane's jammer is standing, will shortly be released onto the track into
Then
their
Brutal's
initial
just
pass.
shouldering our jam here for them.
Them's a very powerful jammer, very quick, but when they hit you, you definitely know you've been hit.
You feel it.
Really nice work by Cat Fink and Surround Pound at the front of the Sydney pack here, containing Gnarly, who is still on their initial pass. They are yet to even be able to score, even be allowed to score points, let alone scoring any points. So really great defense at the front here by Sydney. Ali, Surround Pound and Roman. Cat Fink unfortunately being sent.
They're all right. They're back up again. That's good to see. We like to see that.
It can be very tiring jamming as well, and sometimes...
especially when you have to do a full-length one, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, them's lead. They could call it off if they really wanted to, but hopefully now that Cat Fink is out of the box...
Then Brutal's not happy with that.
Yep, smart move, them.
Trying to call it.
So,
great jam.
And one of the things you can do, if you've got lead and you're in front, there's no need to tire yourself out, right? If you're not having success against the wall, give it up. Stop. If you're in front on points and your penalty box is clear, there's no need to keep burning energy like that. All right, Glam Cracker lining up to jam for Sydney. Riley for Brisbane.
All right. Riley, Graham Clacker. Riley's looking to dart around the inside and they make it way. But Graham Clackers are able to fight their way through as well. Both jammers going fast, going fast. Look at them go. And the pack has got some speed on too.
Riley, a little bit of a slip.
Find a way through. There's a penalty, high block on Riff Raff.
That's Brisbane's pivot off with a high block.
And the jammers are going around again, putting on the speed.
So yeah, if I was on the bench, I would actually try and slow down for this pass, maximise points and call it off, which is exactly what Brisbane... So we have Ho lining up to jam here for Sydney and Felony for Brisbane. Bellows not mucking around with the 5 seconds call, reminding everyone that they need to get moving.
Yeah, get on track.
Beautiful, beautiful work up the inside line from Felony, almost like Sydney was not there. Great comms from Catfink, calling to surround pound, saying we need to... Nice, good reset there from Sydney. Even in chaos, they're doing good work of containing Felony.
Got a power jam to Brisbane here.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Felony coming through.
Ho has been sent to the penalty box for a penalty that I did not catch.
It's got some speed on. Felony there. 3 blockers. They're just really struggling to get that tripod triangle formation sorted. Dangerous of a multi, and they do draw the multi. Well done on Felony for looking at the opportunity to pull that one out. And that's going to put a Sydney blocker in the bin as Hodo comes back on for Sydney jamming up as well. Felony resets. 3 to beat in that tripod. Hodo is out now. They're going to start their scoring pass at the end of that jam.
Smart decision there by Felony. Probably was not at risk of having points scored against them by Hodo. But by calling the jam off when they did, they have given Brisbane a pack advantage. Probably spotted that there was at least one Sydney blocker in the bin and another one on the way there. So really, really smart call off there. Brisbane bringing a 2-skater pack advantage into this next jam.
And also Brisbane pulling ahead that margin that they need to go up in there.
A few metres behind, about 12 feet I'll give it. You know, I really couldn't tell you what feet and inches are, except on a roller derby track where there's these convenient 10-foot marks. Otherwise, I have no idea. Yes, they're there to help referees assess pack, and also for you as a skater to have a better idea. He's not going to be able to hear me, but JREF still owes me a bacon and egg roll from Eggs last year.
I'm going to watch you, and he's going to remember, oh, that's right. I do owe Commander a bacon and egg roll.
Sadly for JRF, I've been badgering him at every tournament since. Anyway.
That's right, he deserves it.
New jam here. We have Felony out with a lead for Brisbane. Some hard...
And we have a completed star pass.
So,
quality...
That I was talking about earlier, all of the years that she spent as a junior, she's a very incredibly capable, probably an understatement to be quite frank, all-rounder. So she's absolutely not the pivot jammer that anything. Then Brutal lining up to jam for Sydney on this one, and gnarly.
Down.
Then Brutal taking advantage.
Found the space. They are happy about that.
Taking advantage of the chaos on the outside of 1 and 2.
Ooh, quick feint. Inside, outside. Where are they going? Gnarly's through. Going to start their scoring pass. As Then Brutal now winds up, shoulder in. Where am I going? This way. Gnarly, was looking for that inside. Quick shoulder. They're going to go down.
Nice little bit of offense from Ho on the inside
looking a bit
there.
rough. Sitting far away.
So them doing some good work. Stuck on this Brisbane wall though, unfortunately.
And now we've got a lot of...
We'll be calling a timeout. We'll just see what happens.
Tempera Charles just checking in with the team. Yep, we're going to go around again and again.
So them is and a reputation for playing very intense, very physical roller derby, within the rules, of course. But yes.
We definitely saw that last game.
Indeed. But, you know, Brisbane will hit you and you'll know you've been hit. So I love roller derby.
Gnarly's looking for a spot. One blocker to beat. Can they get through?
Just Ho at the front there.
Denver Charles also at the back.
And I say just in air quotes because just Hodo is not just anything. It's a pain.
Is Hodo a reference that I've missed to something?
Well, their full name used to be Lowdown Hoedown. So it's just a shortened version of that.
I'm trying to work out how to make it sound more like a hoedown, but can't.
Ho's enough.
Yeah.
All right, we've got Yoshi lining up to jam for Sydney. Experiment wearing the star for Brisbane. Both very fast, very jukey jammers, relying on the speed of their footwork.
Experiment's through.
Quick lead with Yoshi right hot on their tail.
Jammers are going hard. They call the jam.
Probably deciding who's going to buy the first round at the pub later.
I should check the chat.
Oh, yeah. There's probably people in there saying things.
Thank you, Jared. Hope you have a good day at work today. Get this all together with some of your equipment. We really appreciate it.
Sydney's alternate there, Minky, calling for a timeout. Probably not a bad idea given that Sydney had hit a bit of its penalty spiral. For me, one of the things that I notice happens a lot with teams once they get a few penalties in a row is they can hit a spiral. And part of what happens there is that skaters who are still on the track, when they lose someone to the penalty box, they feel like they need to cover for that person. They need to do more, that they need to be a little bit extra and try to make sure that there is no deficiency because that person's on the track, off the track. That's a mistake, however. Just try to do the best you can with the people you have on the track. Keep your risk low, and that will help you stop penalty spirals. If one starts, then you break it with a timeout. You have a chat, a couple of big deep breaths, and hopefully that'll solve the problem. Into the next jam. Here's Skittles. Who's lined up?
We've got Experiment and Rampage. Rampage, very physical jammer. Experiment really.
Here, most likely looking to run some quick and strong offense for Rampage, yes.
They close the gap. Experiment's dancing. 1 to beat, 2 to beat. They are through. Lead jam to Brisbane. And with that, the other Sydney block is back in. Rampage is through. Experiment's probably looking to sneak a couple of points before and keep Sydney score.
The choice to have two defenders try and block the opposition jammer and then leave one of their blocks better as a jammer.
Great work.
Sorry, folks, that's just me headbutting the microphone. All right, folks.
Was it fun?
I won't. It's not an experience I'm looking to repeat.
We got 1 minute left in this game or so. This might be the last jam. Let's see. Riley on the outside. And they put on the speed too. They want to come back around and get some points as quickly. Chuck is helmet cover off, and it is this completed star pass.
Really, really easily at least one or two more in this game.
Yeah. At the rate that they're going through the jam count, I wouldn't be.
But yeah, Jambi on the Brisbane bench then, spotting the risk of having surround pound out as a pivot jammer, not wanting to toy with that at all, tells their jammer to call it off immediately. All right, folks, we're up for the next one. We have 4-4-4.
This will probably be the last jam. We've got 30 seconds left in the game. Felony on the inside. Glenn get there. She can. That's lead to jam. But Riley is in hot pursuit. Oh, great shoulder work by both jammers. Glen's gone down. Are they going to call it? Are they going to call it? They're not. Looks like we're going to play this one out, folks. Riley's come through, getting some points on the board here. Glen's caught, and that is going to be a penalty. One of the Brisbane players has got a. That is the end of the jam, and that is the end of the game. That's all she wrote, folks. 177 to Brisbane City, 122 to Sydney Roller Derby.
I think Glam was assessed a forearms penalty right at the end of that jam then. Not that it matters because, as you say, the period clock has expired. But, oh no. Perhaps I imagined it.
Have a quick chat. Unofficial score. And that sounds like the refs blow their whistle. That is it for the game. Just have a quick double check.
Yep, jam refs are happy, score desk is happy. That is final.
All right, final score. So 177 Brisbane City Rollers, 122 Sydney Roller Derby League. And the thing we're all keeping track of, by the power of mathematics, there's a win to Brisbane City Rollers Red Kennedys. They'll go up in their rankings from this. Well done. And they're on their path to get sanctioned, which is what we're all here to do.
Excellent news. I'm really happy to see Brisbane here this weekend. They've had a bit of a journey to their Wolfton membership. They've been trying to join for a long time. For a little while, there was some issues between Wolfton and the MRDA because Brisbane also hosts the MRDA team. I'm really the radar here in Australia. I think most people that knew that they were easily within the top 2 or 3 around VRDL and come out of the intense lockdowns of the COVID pandemic and move more to these epidemic stages. Brisbane, the hard work here this weekend at Eggs, and I think at Pacific Invitational shortly enough, and probably at Trop later in the year.
They're making a statement.
They are making.
We've got one is roller derby. You can see some of them standing beside the track there versus CRDL shortly. So we're going to wrap this game up, and we're going to get ready for the next game, and we'll be back with you shortly.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.